Ladies and gentlemen, dear students and dear lifelong learners, welcome to part 2 of the Lobbying for Change event series hosted by the Eurotech Engineering Universities. Today's topic is Leave No Waste Behind Towards a Sustainable Future. My name is Dennis Beskin and I'm a mechanical engineering PhD student here at the Technical University of Munich. It's a pleasure to moderate this evening, and I'm excited to share the next 2 hours with you. I know that we have an interesting topic, some really fascinating keynote speakers, and a great audience. So once again, hello everyone, it is good to have you here with us. Sustainability is one of the greatest challenges for our generation, and Europe must take a leading role in tackling this task. Sustainability is a diverse topic, and we want to shed light on it from different perspectives. That's why we have invited 3 fascinating keynote speakers from politics, from startups, and from local city planning. Together, we want to discuss different approaches for creating a more sustainable and waste-free future. But sustainability really includes all of us. And throughout this afternoon, we want to hear your thoughts. We will have a discussion after every keynote speaker. And we have set up Slido, and you can join via the QR code on your screens. So if you have any questions, please post them on Slido, and we will answer them in our discussions. And we are, of course, very much interested who's watching us right now, who is sitting in the audience. And why not check out Slido right away? So please, everyone, take out your smartphones, scan the QR code that you can see on your screens, and tell us who you are. Are you a student of one of the universities? Are you maybe an academic researcher or an employee from industry? Or are you working in politics? We are really curious to know. So please use Slido and we will come back to the results in just a second. Moving towards a sustainable future needs creative ideas. And naturally, universities are predestined to lead this change. And there are not a great many universities for which thinking green is more important than for Tallinn University of Technology in Estonia. So before we begin with our first keynote speaker, let me introduce to you Professor Tiit Land. Professor Land is the president of Tallinn University of Technology, and he will give us the introduction for today's Eurotech conference. So Professor Land, thank you for being here with us. And the screen is all yours.
Thank you for this kind introduction. I'm very, very happy to welcome you to today's event and to share some thoughts from Tallinn, Estonia. So I'm sitting, you can see behind me, you can see our university campus, and you can see buildings, but you can also see that we have in and near our campus, we have quite a lot of green environment. So very, very shortly, my background is chemistry, or more specifically biochemistry. And I have been, during my professional work, I have been, of course, working as a researcher, professor, and during past 10 years, I've been the rector of 2 different universities. So, director of TalTech, I became in late 2020. So I will start just very briefly introducing you about Tallinn University of Technology, or TalTech. So if I could have, next slide. Next slide. So Tallinn University of Technology, or TalTech, is one of the 6 public universities in Estonia. So you might know, but you might not know, that Estonia is a small country. Well, actually, Estonia is not a small country. Estonia is a very small country. Our population is just 1.3 million, meaning that this is like an average city in Europe, or average village even in China or India. Here at TalTech, we have almost 2,000 employees. We are very international. almost 1/3 of our staff is international. We have a little less than 10,000 students, which is kind of average or rather small university in once again in European context, but this is a huge number in Estonia. Once again, if you would just put 1 0, add 1 0 to the end, or as one to put it in the European context. And yes, likewise, we are quite international university in terms of students. Some roughly 13% of our students are international. We are a research university, and in fact, we are the only technical university in Estonia. We provide education in engineering, IT, science, and also economics and maritime. So, but talking about today's topic, as I mentioned, that Estonia is a small country and our university is rather small in European context. So, but size doesn't matter when it comes to the collaboration, and specifically when it comes to working together with other European universities, having common goals like sustainability. So our universities, we're a member of Eurotech University Alliances. If I could have the next slide, and then next slide, I will also very shortly introduce Eurotech Engineering University, European University Alliances. There are today Eurotech Engineering University is one of the 41 European University Alliances. European University Alliance is one of the most prestigious funding schemes by the European Commission. And during 2019 and 2020, first 2 rounds, there were 41 universities selected. And of course, the goal of European University Alliances is to make European universities or landscapes even more stronger, enhance quality, and also, of course, to promote European values and European identity. So European University Alliance started with another alliance were 4 top technical universities in Europe. You can see on the map from Denmark, Technical University of Denmark, Eindhoven University of Technology, called Polytechnique, also Technical University of Munich, formed Eurotech Engineering University Alliance, and also we are very happy that our university and also Czech Technical University were invited to join this alliance. And if I could have the next slide, then you can see that our vision today's vision of even technical universities is that universities today, even engineering education, is not only about teaching, but today's education is much more problem-based, is much more interdisciplinary. And our aim or our vision is to provide our students, in addition to education, also more extended educational horizon, and also provide entrepreneurial mindset and also social political sensitivity. Could I have please next slide or next few slides? Yeah, I mentioned about our vision, and next slide, please. Thank you. And of course, the goal of the university, European Eurotech University Engineering University Alliance, is to promote change, and how we reach out to society. Of course, our goal is to raise awareness, We lobby for change. Universities today are not working only inside of our campuses. We go outside, and of course, we by being universities, we would like to be leaders and to show examples. So, and sustainability. Can I have next slide, please? Sustainability is one of the core values of Eurotech partners, all 6 partners, and even we have more partners together. There are 45 associated partners with Eurotech University Alliance. So, yeah, and about sustainability. Sustainability today is much more than we're talking a lot about climate change, about circular economy, or moving from consumption economy to circular economy. And of course, the goals of this today's event are, in one hand, of course, to point the relevance of this topic and to promote, of course, change. And I also will I'm happy to share some activities what we have we are currently doing at Taltech. So Taltech has one of the key performance indicators, is one of the most important key performance indicators in addition to measuring quality in education research, is to become climate neutral by 2035. So this is a long-term goal, and currently we just adopted in our new strategic plan. We adopted this very important indicator, and we are currently working at all different levels within the university. We are working together with our partners in companies, enterprises, and of course in local municipalities. So this is very, very challenging goal what we have taken, but hopefully working together with all of you and with our partners, we will be able to achieve this goal. So having said that, I would like to wish you very wishful event today, and there are good, excellent keynote speakers. So and once again, we can achieve sustainability only when we work together at different levels within universities, within partners, and of course collaboration. We can do it together with our European partners. Thank you very much, and once again, I wish a successful and fruitful event.
All right, thank you, Professor Tiit Land, for this warm and interesting introduction. Earlier, we asked you in the audience who you are, and let's bring up the slide or results and have a quick look at them. And yeah, we can see that there's a nice split between academic researchers and students, and also 20% are others. So once again, welcome everyone. It is good to have you here with us. We will now begin with our first keynote speaker. And just a quick reminder, if any questions should come up during our first talk, please post them on Slido and we will talk about them in the discussion. Now, let me introduce to you Ms. Pernille Weiss. Ms. Weiss is a member of the European Parliament for the Conservative People's Party. In her committee work, Ms. Weiss is dealing with topics ranging from industry and research over public health and food safety to women's rights and gender equality. Also, Ms. Weiss is the acting rapporteur on the waste shipment legislation, a key piece of legislation which is supposed to ensure continued development and innovation in waste management and recycling. Ms. Weiss, it is great to have you here with us today. We are very much looking forward to your talk. Sustainability really is a European task, and please go ahead. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you for me to this short keynote. I hope I will be able in about 5-6 minutes to give you an overview about what we are currently working on regarding waste and sustainability. but also that there will be a possibility to ask me a few questions if some from the audience have that. I hope that is the structure around my participating in this very important and timely initiative that I must say that you have taken. Congratulations with that. Because just today we had in the ENVI committee an exchange of views on the draft for the recast of the existing waste shipment regulation, where I am the rapporteur, as rightly said, but also a dialogue in the committee that addressed that we cannot solve all problems related to waste, and a more sustainable approach that hopefully enables us to reduce the amount of waste in the future, because there is too much waste going to either incinerators or deposits. And also there are too less still technologies and business models out there that enables us to change resources that are considered as waste to still be doing circular movements again and again and again in the specific sectors that makes the waste, but also that fractions can move from one sector to another and still be a part of the resources we use when producing new products, new energy sources for our society. The waste shipment regulation that is being recasted for the moment is, as it says in the name, about how we ship waste. So that is about how we can, and that is one of the very important goals of the recast, how can we actually make EU have a harmonized single market for waste? Because the more harmonized, the more we develop waste shipment as a commodity, as a resource with value, because we have a big single market, the better conditions will be for innovations of technologies and business models that makes our approach to resources much more sustainable and climate friendly and environmental friendly in the future. Also, this waste shipment regulation addresses how the EU ships waste to third countries, both within the OECD and outside of OECD. And we know that waste crime and the export of waste challenges from one country to another, from EU and to other parts of the world, is a concern of both European politicians and citizens and NGOs and etc., but also that the way we in Europe cooperate with third countries is one of our important tools whereby EU can make a better world and a better conditions for both environment, climate and social impact on the rest of the globe. So the way we ship waste is both about the classical environmentally related sustainability, but of course also a more social and economic sustainability movement that we can do by the way EU is a part of the cooperation globally. So what we're doing right now is focusing on digitalization of the shipment regulation, because a lot of paperwork is still the way things are done when we send waste around both inside and outside, and that creates a lot of both loopholes for crime, but also it gives us an uneven data set by which innovation and research can be done, but also where new business models can grow, because one of the issues that we're also trying to update is the way we classify waste fractions, and also the way that errors, technology friction in between ways of shipping are being solved in a more innovative and agile way that also invites new technologies on board. So we want the waste shipment regulation that until now has been a very linear and very Excel kind of tool to regulate, that it becomes more circular. And by becoming circular, that it also provides for EU to be still a part of the open global economy. And as the third part of it, also how we can combat waste crime. What the recast is not addressing, but I hope that any one of you who has more competences and knowledge within these fields is about the Waste Directive. The Waste Directive in EU addresses how waste collection in each member state is being done. The regulation on shipment is one size fits all, one rule goes for all countries, where the directive is more a framework that is being implemented right now in the different in all member states, and the revision will be on the agenda next year, and that is where we can address ideas for change of the directive in order to have a more sustainable and more cost-efficient way of collecting waste in municipalities, in regions, etc. So ideas coming up on that. You are very welcome to send it to my office, because I will continue working with waste also when the waste shipment regulation is done. As also as the third part of the waste agenda, we are also, as said by the previous speaker, working with the package directive. So how can we in the future design the way we pack products in a way that is more sustainable, because a lot of knowledge is lost from whom produces the single bits and pieces and parts of a product when they are put in together as a combination. That is where the sustainability can get lost, because there will be some producers actually not knowing how to combine the right combination of, for example, plastics, in order to make the plastic again able to recycle, because the fractions in the product can easily be unattached to each other, can be demolished in a simple way, in order for plastic to not be considered as a problematic waste, but actually as a potential resource that easily goes around and around without damaging the environment. So yes, that is very quickly what is on the topic right now. What is the political debate relates to all these issues, and in that regards also, of course, to the maybe sometimes little bit simplified ways of doing politics by saying, oh, let's ban a country. Let's not send waste to a country that we presume, or we have knowledge that they don't do it the way that we want it to be. I acknowledge that, and that's also why I have put forward how we can do audits, how we can also remove countries from lists to which we can send waste in the future if they do not comply with the contracts and rules on how to manage waste fractions. But also there are discussions about, should we ban export of specific fractions of waste that could be scrap, because we wanted to hold critical raw materials as steel and supplies for battery production inside EU, or it could be that EU is producing right now, some say, a lot of plastic waste. We must learn not to do that. And then they think that the best way to do it is that we ban ourselves in order to not export plastic, because then we can learn how to recycle plastic better and maybe also use less in the future. That is some of the more ideological battlefields discussing sustainability and waste management and waste shipment. Yep. I think I used the time available for me. Maybe there is a question or two, then I'm happy to cling and stay tuned here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Weiss. What an interesting talk, and it's really, I think you pointed out very well how difficult of a topic it is and how we all must collaborate really on this. And as far as I can see, there are really a lot of questions in the chat. So why don't we start right away with our first round of discussions. So the first question is, how far already students and universities are involved in the discussions which you have on the EU political level? And if they are already involved, in what capacity they might be involved?
That's a very good question. And to be honest, I have a very good cooperation with DTU because I come from Denmark. And DTU is a world-leading university within technology. So of course I go to my primary source of getting new knowledge from DTU. But I think we could do better, to be honest. And that's also why I have put forward a proposal to the waste shipment regulation that we in the future create a kind of a climate partnership within waste shipment that makes it easier for new research, new innovations to be put in focus in order to be adopted in the market, to be scaled up quicker than we see now. I have talked with a lot of innovators and entrepreneurs who have brilliant new technologies that are not easily accepted and adopted and approved by also the EU, the Commission's offices, especially within plastics. And why do we make life difficult for brilliant researchers and innovators who has the solutions, the missing links of how we can develop a more sustainable and climate-proof way of dealing and still have plastic as the service it provides for a lot of issues, because we make life difficult in how new ideas can be adopted and upscaled so they can make a difference for environment and climate quickly. And there the climate partnerships as a kind of a framework tool was introduced in the EU climate law, actually from my proposal. And now I'm trying to make it real within the waste shipment regulation. So that could be a way forward for universities to have an easier scene to speak from when they find out new solutions.
All right, yeah, that is great to hear. A second question in the chat deals with the topic of a common European market, which you also mentioned in your keynote presentation. So in what way can really this European market, this common European market, help reduce waste, as it also gives a lot of economic incentives to produce even more waste?
That's an interesting way of putting up paradoxes, because yes, I acknowledge that, but in the contrary, I would like to underline that by making EU a harmonized single market for waste, we improve the possibilities for technologies to grow that actually addresses waste in a way where it does not become a waste, but it actually keeps the resources in the circular loop, because the scale of business opportunities, because of the framework of the single market, becomes the condition. I mean, coming from a very little country like Denmark, we became rich throughout the last decades because of being a member of the EU, because we can sell our products to a market of 1 billion Europeans and not only by doing it bilaterally with unique trade deals with individual countries. So that is actually the logic, and also in the way that when doing so, the way we traditionally see our way of using resources, that's after a period of usage, when we then no longer use a product, then it becomes waste. We must turn that circle around to make a thing we use not to become a waste, because it's a part of a bigger market where the resource is being transferred to a new user. And that is possible if we use the power of the single market, the big market muscle of EU. So it doesn't have to be a contradiction. In the contrary, actually.
All right, that is great to hear. I mean, the EU single market surely builds on economic incentives for reducing waste. Let me ask you this question. How is it possible that the EU still is prosper economically and at the same time sustainable? Are there other incentives which you would like to see in the near future?
Oh yes, indeed, because the waste shipment regulation is not one silver bullet that solves all problems. One of also the tools we must develop, and I do that both in the waste shipment regulation as far as it is possible, but also on different other agendas and occasions, and that is to push for a CO2 labeling methodology that are in the Union acknowledged cross sectorial, cross industries, and also and that is very important part of the challenge, that the data and the way they are being used for this CO2 labeling are based on life cycle assessments. Because we cannot provide a better and more healthier and cleaner and more sustainable world for the future generations if we only focus on the CO2 output from a product. We have to understand the life cycle footprint of a product in order also to address where in the ecosystem around either a resource or a resource fraction or a product, do we still need more research to be done? Where do we need to become even more harmonized in EU, because it serves the bigger purpose of reducing the big CO2 footprint of the whole Union? And if we are only focused on the, let's say, the output from the tie pipe of a car and not the life cycle footprint of how to produce the specific car, then we blind ourselves from where we really can have an impact in a positive way for the future generations. And that is what I would like to do also. And I hope that there are stakeholders in this meeting also who can contribute, or at least can continue your great work in order to make it possible for us to have a more evidence-based policy making around climate and environmental issues, if we have in the future a life cycle data-based CO2 labeling equation system. Long sentence, maybe we should work on an acronym in the future.
All right, yeah, I mean, surely we all really have to come together and solve this so pressing issue.
Yeah.
So Ms. Weiss, I want to thank you very much for taking the time and participating at this Eurotech event. Thank you very much for your insightful talk. Yeah, and we are all looking forward towards a more sustainable and even greener European Union.
Indeed, we share that. Have a wonderful, wonderful, important afternoon together. I have to run now for another meeting. I'm sorry. But if anyone wants to reach out to my office, please send me an email.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Weiss.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And we now continue with our second keynote presentation. Sustainability really is a unique challenge, and it needs fresh ideas and out-of-the-box thinking for it to be solved. Oftentimes, startups come up with revolutionizing concepts and breakthrough technologies. And our next keynote speaker is exactly doing that. So please, everyone, let's welcome Maximilian Haug, the Chief Technology Officer of the Munich-based startup Reverion. Reverion is working very hard to make a more sustainable future possible by reinventing the production of biogas. So, Maxi, it is great to have you here with us today, and we are very much looking forward to your and Reverion's story. Please go ahead.
So, very warm welcome from my side. My name is Maximilian Haug, and so actually before I begin, I shared some slides. I'm not sure if they are visible. Oh yeah, perfectly. So very warm welcome. So I'm one of the co-founders of Reverion, and just to give you a quick run through, I will start talking a bit about who we are, what we are doing, and then go over, so how did we end up with the idea of founding a startup? What did the way there look like? Why did we choose that path? And perhaps also give you some advice if you plan to put your ideas, your projects into practice, what would be some good advice? So we are a very young company. We founded Reverion in March this year, and we are 5 founders. You see us here. We all come from the Technical University of Munich, and we all have an energy background. So most of us worked at the chair of energy systems, either as PhD students or, in case of our now CEO, Stefan Hermann, as postdoc. And we were all working on renewable energy topics. And I guess the main topic that comes into mind when anyone works on renewable energy is, what do you do when there is no wind or solar power available? And while looking at this issue, we found 2 main challenges. Could you please go to the next slide? So one challenge has to do with biogas, because biogas is one of the few renewable energies that are available 24/7. However, the amount of sustainable biogas is limited. And on the other hand, the conversion technologies to make use of biogas that are used nowadays are very inefficient. So biogas is mostly utilized as internal combustion engines with very low efficiencies of only around 40%. So around 2/3 of the energy that is in the biogas leaves unused in form of heat to the environment. So it can't play the important role in the energy system that it could possibly do. The other issue that we identified is that there is no good long-term, large-scale energy storage available. So we have good solutions for short-term energy storage in form of batteries, but any long-term energy storage is either not available or not economic. And so we saw these 2 issues and actually came up with an idea how to solve both. Next slide, please. So we developed a technology that is a sort of all-in-one power plant. And this all-in-one solution takes biogas as input stream. And in times of low supply, so when there's little wind and solar power available, we produce power using high temperature fuel cells. Next slide, please. So the fuel cells produce power highly efficiently. So we reach electrical efficiencies of 80%. So 80% of the energy in the biogas is converted into electricity. This is because our power plant cycle works way different than other systems up till now, so reach this high efficiency. At the same time, we don't produce any flue gases, but pure CO2 that can be captured to generate negative emissions. However, as I said, it's an all-in-one solution, so it can do more than generate power, because in times of high supply, so when there's a lot of wind and solar power available, we can actually run the power plant as an electrolyzer. Next slide, please. So we take power from the grid and turn it either into green hydrogen or synthetic methane, which can be injected into the natural gas grid. And thereby, next slide, please. We create a long-term energy storage because there's basically endless capacity in the gas grid. So we can actually buffer times of high supply of renewable energies to have power available when there's no wind or solar in the grid. Next slide, please. So that was about our technology. Then perhaps a few words what we as a company do. So we put our technology into standardized containers, and we sell them to our customers in form of standardized units. So we start with a standard size of 100 kilowatt for power generation, and that same unit can also perform electrolysis and take 250 kilowatt of electrical energy from the grid to produce hydrogen or methane. And we sell these units to farmers or energy utilities who run biogas plants, and our units basically replace the combustion engine. So the fermenter and everything that creates the biogas stays unchanged, and they just put our container there, connected to the gas and electrical connections, and are ready to go. So next slide, please. Now that I've talked a bit about who we are and what we do, I'd like to talk a bit about, so how did we end up founding a startup? Why did we do that? And what were perhaps a few lessons learned that you might also use if you want to put your ideas into practice? So our story starts with our now CEO, Stefan Hermann, who had the idea for our technology. We then, so all the founders, we developed, built, and tested a prototype. That was the container you saw on the last slide. And once we got our technology running, we were thinking about, okay, how can we put this idea into practice? And we talked to several companies, but found that they were, for different reasons, not very interested in our technology. On the other hand, we saw a high demand. So there's a high demand from an environmental perspective, because I guess I don't have to tell anyone in this room here that the 1.5 degree target is a really tough one. So we need to move as fast and as efficiently as we can. And on the other hand, there was a strong pull from the market because all the biogas farmers whom we talked to were urgently looking for innovative solutions. So as we didn't get the support from big companies that we would like to have, we decided that we will try to do it on our own and pursued the way towards a startup. And we got a lot of support from the Technical University of Munich at that time. So mainly through incubator programs. So the Unternehmertum supported us, and we took part in the Expreneurs Incubator. And anyone who is thinking about putting your ideas into practice through founding a startup, I can just recommend get into one of the incubator programs as quickly as possible. You learn a lot of valuable things there, and just startup life works very different from research, very, very different from conventional companies. So go there, you learn a lot of things. We furthermore got support from the TUM Venture Labs, who helped with networking, and also the startup consulting of TUM, which helped so that we could finally gain a transfer of research program funding. That's a government-funded program that supports researchers that want to put their ideas into practice. And we got that in March this year, and shortly after founded the company Revarion GmbH. And after that, we're also able to attract investors who invested into us with a 7-digit sum to actually help us, support us, scale up, and actually build our technology in series. And next slide, please. And to give you an idea of how long did this process take. So we started in 2018 with a research project at the Technical University of Munich. That project lasted until 2021. And let's say the last half or 2/3 of a year, we were also busy getting into the startup life, talking to investors, applying for the Exist transfer fund, and are now right now busy with a scale up to our first commercial unit. And well, we plan to finalize our pilot plant beginning of next year, and then also start building the first pre-commercial units in 2023 and go to series production in 2024 to really put units on the market to actually have an impact, to well, supply power, supply units that can produce power when there's no wind and act as an energy storage when there is too much, to be the technology that enables a 100% renewable energy system. Next slide, please. And I think I'm pretty close to my 10 minutes. So just a few finalizing words. You all have great projects, and I'm always happy to see when young people actually put effort and energy into their mission. And I can just recommend to you, if you want to go a startup up at some point, really get counseling, really get into those incubator programs. You will learn a lot. And perhaps if some of you think that what we are doing is interesting and that you would like to support us, well, we need your support. We are hiring at the moment. We have more than 15 positions posted at the moment, from business development, our manufacturing and engineering, everything. So here you have my contact data. You can also go on our website. We're looking forward for your applications and for your support on our way to 100% renewable, decentralized, and efficient. Thank you very much. And I'm looking forward for your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maxi. It's really a very interesting and fascinating project, and I think it's especially important in our so challenging times right now to have an alternative energy supply. There are indeed a lot of questions, and why don't we start right away with our round of discussions. So you mentioned already a bit in your talk this transition from an academic project into a startup. Could you reiterate once more what were the biggest challenges in this transition, and what kind of help did you, maybe more specifically, what kind of help did you seek and what did you get at the end?
So the biggest challenge, especially in the beginning, was communication. So we're all researchers. We are all, I would say, quite good at what we are doing, but we weren't, in the beginning especially, not very good at explaining what we do to investors who don't have a technical background and who are also interested in other things. So for us, well, technical hard facts are completely fascinating. So I could talk a lot about where the efficiency comes from, or how the switching between the fuel cell and the electrolysis works. But all those things were nothing that investors, or also people, let's say, who are in deciding about the exist transfer fund were interested in. They were interested in, let's say, investor speak, and they are really the going forward. So the help that was most useful for here were really those incubator programs. So most out of all in the Entrepreneurs Incubator, we learned especially these things, what is important, where we have to refine our presentation, or perhaps also refine our planning, so that we can answer these questions or just talk in the right way that they understand us and we understand them.
All right, yeah, that's good advice for many students which might come up with a good idea as well. In general, maybe can you comment on how you see the role of companies in creating a more sustainable and more waste-free future?
Well, I guess there are more people like us who have a good idea in academia and realize it's really hard to put that into practice because, well, the big players are not interested because it's against their current business case, or they are not interested because it's just too far away from what they are doing every day, and seems to like a crazy student idea. And at that point, you have to decide, okay, either way, you continue in your research and hope that at some point some big company will will accept or your idea, see it as what it is, or you try to do it on your own. And the role there I see is that if it's about urgent topics, and I think both waste and climate are urgent topics, and you somehow see it possible, then startups can really accelerate us there, because they can go forward. And I guess once you have a working business case, then perhaps bigger companies are also willing to cooperate to scale up faster. So yeah, I think especially if it's about emerging technologies, startups can facilitate the step from research to really putting it into practice and yeah, getting the numbers higher.
All right, so you really see startups as maybe the link between academic and industry in a certain sense.
Yeah, one possible, I would say. I don't say that a startup is the only and necessary way, and for sure not. But sometimes it's it's a good link, I would say.
All right. In your talk, you already mentioned your business plan briefly. Can you maybe go into some more detail? How do you, at the end of the day, how do you want to make money with your product?
Okay, so we build and sell units. So we make money because our customers, which are mainly biogas farmers, they buy our containers instead of a conventional combustion engine. And so how does the business for us work out? Of course, our technology is, at the moment at least, way more expensive than your average combustion engine. However, the special case with biogas is that in a whole biogas plant, the combustion engine is just a small factor. So the other big installations, when you drive past a biogas plant, you see those big fermenters with a plastic foil on top. These parts are what really costs the most. So if you just replace the utilization unit, and you get twice as much out of the biogas because the efficiency is twice as high, and you get even more revenue because the biogas farmer can produce hydrogen or synthetic natural gas when the electricity prices are low. It's a really good business case for the farmers. So they are able and willing to pay more so that our products are commercially viable, and that's how we make money. In future, we will probably also operate units on our own. However, right now we only look into selling the technology and maintaining it.
And as far as I understood, you were a group of engineers who started Reverion. Have you, since your foundation, made any experience with interdisciplinary and interprofessional collaboration? And if not so, do you see the need for this in your future work?
Well, there is, of course, interdisciplinary collaboration. So, for example, in the work together with the investors do not have an engineering background, but in the end, well, both they and we have the same goal, so that our company technology, it all works out. So there are already very different backgrounds working together, and also we have our first employee who has an engineering background, but has also worked a lot on the business development side since her studies. So I guess from just from the employees and also from the investment side, they automatically come different backgrounds together, and I think it's super important because technicians or engineers like us, we like to probably build the fanciest and best working product, but sometimes it's needs the other perspective to say, okay, what is really necessary? Is there perhaps a better use case? And yeah, I think it's super important.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And you mentioned, I mean, your startup was basically founded at the Technical University of Munich. Is there right now any collaboration still with the Technical University of Munich, or are you completely separate right now?
So there is still collaboration. The Exist Research Transfer Fund, which I mentioned, that basically keeps up the link between or keeps it up formally, because for a certain duration we four of the five of us founders are paid through that fund. So we are officially so we get our salary from the university, and we also got some hardware funds with which we work on the prototype, which still belongs to the university. So yeah, there is a link, and also besides this funding, there's also, of course, a personal connection to the institute. So there is indeed a link.
And while you were in development phase, what would interest me is which kind of simulation software were you using to simulate your prototype, or did you, did you use some commercial software, or how did you really start out in the early phases of your project?
So let's say in the early phases, we use mostly commercial software. And let's say in the very earliest phases, it was a typical process simulation software. So Aspen Plus is one example. So where you just validate your whole idea, but we used a very broad range of software. So we used Simulink, MATLAB, different CFD software, so really in-depth fluid dynamics and electrochemistry modeling, then the process, processes engineering software, but also especially in later stages, we moved a bit more towards Python. Yeah, so we use pretty much everything from very detailed engineering to let's say wider scope process engineering, where the single components are only modeled in a very simplified way, because you want to optimize the whole thing and not just a single component.
All right. So Maxi, I think we could really go on forever. Thank you very much for all the interesting insights and details. It was really a pleasure having you here today. And we wish you and Reverion all the best for the future. So please, everyone, a big round of applause for Maximilian Haug and Reverion.
Thanks. It was a pleasure to have the chance to talk here, and I wish you all success with your projects. And well, you have my contact data, so if there are any more specific questions or other reasons to contact me, feel free. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sustainability is really an issue that has to be tackled on all levels, and universities will play a vital role in this change. And we are interested in what you think, how universities can and should do to promote sustainable thinking and acting. So please, everyone, we have a second Slido poll right now, and you can use the QR code, which will be seen on the screen right now, and answer our question, how universities can promote sustainable thinking in the future. And we will come back to the results after our next keynote. So moving towards a sustainable future really is a global challenge. But at the same time, we have to get active on the local level to realize this transition. It is think global, act local. And here in Munich, I have been witnessing how the city is becoming more and more eco-friendly over the last couple of years. And that's why I'm especially excited to now welcome our next keynote speaker. Ms. Christina Frank is here and is joining us from Munich. She's the head of the city's forest administration and of the waste management corporation of the city of Munich. So, Ms. Frank, thank you very much for taking the time and being here with us. Please tell us, what is Munich's green story? I think we cannot hear you right now, Ms. Frank.
Does it work now, Dennis?
Yes, perfectly.
You can all hear me now. Thank
Yes.
you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here in such a great audience. And I hope I can give you an answer on every question you have. But first of all, let me tell you that I'm working for a German administration. So as you can imagine, German is the language that is spoken there regularly. So I hope that our presentation is right and we don't have any huge mistakes in our presentation. So, but if that's the case, please let us know, and we'll do better for the next time. We have a great aim in Munich. Munich wants to become a zero waste city, a city where there is no waste left behind, which is not needed. Of course, you will never come to zero waste, because if you're eating a banana, for sure, there will be waste left behind. So zero waste is a big goal we're chasing for, but of course it's not that we want to have zero waste, but that we don't want to have any waste that is not necessary. And a huge key for this is circular economy. But we need to focus on the problem first. So how is the waste in Munich composed of? So what are the different parts of waste in Munich? And if you see the waste volume that is generated per capita by Munich citizens, you will be, maybe a little shocked. So we can go to the next page, please. Here you are. So in 2019, you can see that almost 500 kg per resident per annum has been produced of waste in Munich. This is really, really, really much. We can look into the waste, and we can separate good waste, like for example, waste that is made of biological material, from waste which just cannot be recycled or reduced. Our main problem is the residual waste, which you can see has almost 42% of the waste volume in total. So this is a really huge problem for us. But if we look into these fractions of waste, which can be recycled, there you can see paper, paperboard, cardboard. Of course, everybody's ordering from Amazon, from whatever you have at home. And so 34% of the fractions that can be recycled is paper. This is really good because paper is really easy to recycle. Biological waste is also a huge number by 18%. And we have all the other fractions as well. Glass, for sure. Wood is a big thing. And also lightweight packaging, so plastics, or electrical and electronical devices. But the huge problem is not the part that can be recycled, so about 1/3 of the waste, but the problem is all the rest. We have high waste volumes that you can see here, and we have maybe the possibility to shift some of the waste out of the residual waste to a waste that can be recycled. How can we handle this? What is our potential solution for this? So we can go to the next page, please. We want to think in a circular economy. We want to think at first sight, how we can avoid waste production. What can we do that there is no waste at all produced? This is our main issue. And if you go down our 5-tier waste management hierarchy, you can see that waste prevention is for sure the primary goal, followed by reuse, recycle, recover, and then for sure the last, waste disposal is the last resort. Zero waste has many different topics you need to handle with. So we can go to the next page. Everyone can think about his or her own lifestyle. Reducing waste in daily life is a big task for everyone. Everybody's a little bit lazy. Sometimes you just don't have the time to think what you're doing, what you're buying, whether you can really separate the waste. But everybody has really good chances to become a responsible consumer. But of course, a consumer is one part. The most important part is zero waste in business. Here, there is a great focus on optimizing the production. What can producers do to produce no products that are broken after 2 years, that only use materials which can be really easily reused, which processes can maybe be optimized, and which workflows help to avoid waste. And then last but not least, there are the administrations, politics, and zero waste cities. We are here in Munich trying to push waste prevention based on a dedicated action plan, which we will present to our Munich Council in July this year. So the next page, please. What we did in the last year has been really much. We had lots of workshops where so many people met. Of course, NGOs, but also trade and commerce, politics, normal citizens like me and you. And all these people came together to hand in their ideas they have that Munich becomes a zero waste city. So at first, of course, we looked at the status quo. What waste do we have? I showed you on my first page. Which target do we aim for? What is our existing activities for zero waste? And of course, where are the main issues we're facing? After this, we identified the key players. We had the workshops. We were dealing with core groups, and we are happy that we are not dealing with this issue alone, but we've got partners on our side, Rehab Republic in Munich, but also the Wuppertal Institute, which is a renowned institute in Germany, who deals with this issue, with this matter very often. And Prognos, who helped us as well. So what we did after the participation progress, we measured all the activities, all the ideas that were handed in. Which of them do really have an effect? Which of them cost how much money? Which of them can be dealt with on a communal basis? Because of course we cannot change the law in Bavaria, in Germany, or in the European Union. We can only do things we can directly impact in Munich. So we worked out a catalog of objectives and measures in various sectors, like, for example, the building sector, the administration sector, civil society, trade and commerce, and so on. We will present this catalog to our Lord Mayor at the beginning of July, and afterwards we will present it as well to Munich's City Council. And then, of course, we need to see how these different activities really work out. So do they have an effect? Do they help us on our way to a zero waste cities? So we were trying to determine some numbers regarding the residual waste and its reduction until 2025, until 2030, until 2035. So now we have some steps which we try to reach with our measurements, and which can be reached because we really had a deep insight of these measures. And this in total will result in our zero waste concept. I brought some of our ideas with me today, so you just get an idea as well what we're talking about. So next page, please. Of course, it all starts off with waste management itself. For example, we have the Pavilion 2, our Halle 2 in Munich, where used goods have a second life because we are selling them again. So a second-hand market we are having in Munich. In the building industry, for example, there is so much to deal with because this is one of the huge problems we are facing. If you're disrupting a building, normally everything is just transported to another place where then the material is sometimes not even reused or recycled, but disposed, but sometimes it's reused, it's recycled, and it can be brought back. So what we're trying to do is to recycle the material, for example, on the area. We are building the new buildings and where we are disrupting the old buildings. So we don't have the transport at all. We are trying to do very much in the sector of education. For my opinion, it all starts off with our kids. So if you learn as a kid how to deal with the waste and how important it is that you deal with it correctly, then I am sure that they will do much better than some of us are doing here. Events as well is a great topic. We are planning to have more zero waste events in Munich. In Munich, we are already trying to have only events where there is a used stuff that can be not only used once, but several times. So, for example, some of you might know the recup bottles, the recup glasses, and we are trying only to have events where you don't have waste for plates, for knives, etc., but where you have knives, etc., which are used again. But in future, we're trying to have zero waste events or zero waste marathons. That's also very important. Trade and commerce, for sure. This is very, very important because, as I mentioned before, zero waste in business is a very, very important topic. So we want to help our entities in Munich to become better than they already are. So we are trying to help them, supporting them. We want to open a help desk for a circular economy entities. We want to install a farmers market, which is a zero waste farmers market, for example. We want to present a Munich zero waste card where you maybe can earn points. So there are several ideas. Public administration, for sure, is also very, very important. We're trying to do better in our own business. Because for now, for example, in many of our administrative buildings, we only have one rubbish bin where everything goes into. So we're not really separating the waste as an administration, and I'm sure we can do better in this. The civil society also is a great factor. We're trying to work out a concept for a zero waste award, so that everybody can see what good ideas are, and of course that it's worth it, that you are engaging in zero waste activities. We want to maybe name a zero waste road, so a whole street engaging in zero waste activities, or, and that's I think a really good idea, we want to hand out a repair bonus. So if you have a product which is broken and which you would normally just throw away, we give you then, as the city of Munich, a bonus if you repair it instead of throwing it away, so that products also get a second life. And last but not least, it's so much about communication. So we are trying to focus on strategies, how we can reach people, how we can contact people, what we can do in terms of education also for us, not only for the kids, and which campaign could be the best. For the next page, I brought you an example of how circular economy already works in Munich. Our Pavilion 2, our Halle 2 in München-Pasing, the Halle 2, our Pavilion 2, is our second-hand store we are having as the city of Munich. Citizens come by to buy some products in our store. But of course, they can also hand in the products they don't need anymore because the kid has grown up, because you moved somewhere, whatever the reason is. So you can drop off really good products at our Halle 2 or at our recycling yards. We've got 12 of them in Munich, or at our mobile recycling yards. Then these goods are transported to our Pavilion 2. Or you can also hand them in directly at Pavilion 2. There they will be inspected by a third party. Do the products still work? Do they have any problems? Can we still sell them or not? And after this, they are sorted and priced, and they are sold via eBay, via WhatsApp. You can also do a video call and contact all my colleagues at Pavilion 2, and they show you the products they are just having in store, because the products, the assortment, it changes every time. So every day we have different products in our Pavilion 2. And if you're looking for a guitar, for example, maybe we have it on Monday, but maybe we don't have it on Tuesday, because it depends when somebody drops off their guitars. And because the Halle 2 is in the western area of Munich, and many people just don't know about the Halle 2, we decided to open pop-up stores for our Pavilion 2. So on the next page, you can see one of our pop-up stores at the Viktualienmarkt, so really in the heart of Munich, which we had opened in April this year. And we really learned a lot, I have to say, because it's really fantastic how many people drop in to buy something, but also just to chat and to learn about waste and the way waste takes in Munich. The acceptance was really high. So this was really good. We sold really much products, which was a real topic for us, because we needed to transport the products every time from Pavilion 2 to the Viktualienmarkt. And because we did this for the first time, it was a challenge on some days, but we learned a lot. And I'm really happy to see more of the pop-up stores in the near future in Munich. What can everybody do just to get a little bit better in dealing with the waste production. We can see on the next page. So, for example, it's so important to look what products you buy. Do you buy better products, which maybe in the first moment cost a little more money, but which can be easier repaired, or which do not have so many packaging waste around them? How you can reduce paper. I think home office, working abroad helps a lot, but still many people print, and after 5 minutes of reading, they just throw it into the bin. It's also very important that you maybe have platforms for your employees to change their products they don't need anymore. Maybe you can have a little challenge in your entity which focuses on reducing waste volumes. Or maybe you yourself use rental offerings more often instead of buying a thing you might maybe only need once or twice. Water coolers is also very important, not buying water in plastic bottles. In Munich, we've got so good water, so you can drink it right out of the tap. So that might be helpful as well. Or engaging in design solutions, for example, in cradle for cradle terms. So there's a lot everybody can really do themselves. But I know it's hard. Everybody's working a lot. Time is rare. And of course, we want to do sports and whatever, want to go to the theater. And we want to be good to our climate. But I can tell you that it's really easy to do some of these things. And if you're trained a little, then it becomes easier day by day. So I think I talked enough now. There have been already some questions in the chat, which I can look into afterwards. But if you have some more questions we cannot handle today because there's no time or whatever, or because you want to maybe discuss it in person, on the next page you will find my contact details, so you can already note it, or maybe you get the presentation afterwards anyhow, and please feel free to contact us anytime, and I'm happy to get in a good discussion with you now, and I thank you for your time.
Yeah, Ms. Frank, thank you very much for being here with us and explaining a bit how much waste we all produce and what the city of Munich is doing really to combat this issue. Let me ask you a couple of questions which are coming from the chat. So what do you see as the biggest problem in the area of waste avoidance on a local level?
I guess the biggest issue we're having to deal with is our local businesses here, because normally there are not so many products that are produced in Munich itself. Many products are produced somewhere else. So our entities, our businesses here in Munich, they transport it from somewhere else to our place here. So you've got lots of packaging material, you have all the transport issues. Afterwards, you resell it here, and you sometimes have packaging material as well. And I think this is really a big issue at the moment because there are no workarounds. So the entities, they cannot produce everything themselves here. So this will be a really huge challenge to get these entities not to order the cheapest things, but maybe the things that are best for our climate. And I think there's a lot of work to do. And of course, a huge problem is maybe everybody of us. So it's really hard just to learn new things and to adapt these things in daily life.
All right. And if, let's say I have a good idea of how to reduce the waste in Munich, who can I contact and what kind of support can I expect from the city of Munich?
Well, that's really easy. So you can contact us at AWM, Abfallwirtschaftsbetrieb München. So we've got a really good homepage where you can see also everything we're dealing with and also, of course, our contact details. So please feel free to just hand in your idea via email, or you can send me an email directly at christina.frank@münchen.de. So you can hand them in via phone as well, whatever you like, or you can just drop in at our Halle 2 to chat with us directly. So that is all possible, and we are really happy to get to know all the ideas because we had 400, and I'm sure there are 400 more we don't know yet.
All right. So thank you very much, Ms. Frank, for being here with us and taking the time. I think it's really good to see that Munich is on a clear path towards a waste-free and more eco-friendly future. So once again, thank you very much for your insights today. It was really great to have you here with us.
Thank you very much for your attention. All the best for you all.
Thank you very much. Yeah, earlier we asked our audience what they think universities should do to promote a more sustainable and more waste-free future. So let's bring up really quickly our Slido results. And let's have a look at them. And I see in very big and bright letters, integrate sustainability into the curriculum. And I think this is a great idea. This should really be a day-to-day for every university. And also more sustainability degree programs, a lot of really creative ideas. And we thank you really much for your input. This is great to see. Yeah, let's talk a bit about the Eurotech Initiative as a whole. The Eurotech Initiative has really the goal to tackle big societal problems with a unique and fresh approach. And this Eurotech approach is a holistic philosophy which includes different forms of teaching, learning, and problem solving. And next to the virtual Eurotech campus and the Lobbying for Change event series, the so-called Eurotech Colliders play an important role. And if you have not heard yet about the Eurotech Colliders, I am very glad that Elise and Julia from the Eurotech Colliders team are joining us right now to explain the Eurotech Collider concept in more detail. Thank you very much for being here with us, and please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Julia and I are very happy to be here and to be able to present to you the Collider. Can we show the slides we prepared, please? Thank you very much. Can we go to the next one? Great. So I have three main points to present, and the first thing that I would like to present to you is the ambition Eurotech has for the Collider. So as Dennis already mentioned, we aim to tackle some of the 21st century challenges, which is why the current Collider addresses our topic of the day, Leave No Waste Behind. We also aim to train the engineers of tomorrow, to encourage and to facilitate the cross-participation between higher education institutions and between external stakeholders, such as companies, startup associations, for example. And at last, to give meaning to the learning, both theoretical and practical, that happen through our training programs. Then to give you a better understanding of the Collider as a learning format, you need to know that it is conceived using the challenge-based learning, or CBL model. We submit challenges to the participant, who then form groups and try to come up with solutions. This means that through this learning experience, learners are able to apply the knowledge and expertise developed through their training on a concrete case, and they are able to learn from their peers and to develop transversal skills or soft skills, which are very important in today's and we believe tomorrow's world. The last thing I'm going to present to you is the strength or specificities of the Eurotech Collider. So we want to promote diversity in the participants' profile to enrich the peer learning part of the experience and to collide ideas and perspective on the 21st century challenges. We want to ensure that authentic challenges are offered. That's why we formulate them in collaboration with teachers and company representatives. The co-construction of the collider with student, company representative, teachers, administrative staff, and other partners from the whole Eurotech ecosystem is also really something we want to push forward. That's one of the main things we want to bring forward. And to give you a better explanation of the different steps we are taking right now to put it in practice and how a collider is running, I will leave the floor to Julia.
Thank you, Elise, and good afternoon, everybody. Collider experience then is structured based on a real co-creation process. So if you can please give us the next slide. So yeah, here we go. So the first step is taking into consideration the stakeholder perspectives. And this is very important for us because we want to contribute to the structuring of a better society. So what we did in the process is that using creative tools, we went to the co-creation, dialogue and progressive definitions of the topics, and then the larger themes that are interesting for different type of stakeholders. We used the institutions that are part of the Eurotech, the students, other type of stakeholders, the perspective of general trends in society, and of course the European Commission's priorities. So we did all of this, the steps of co-creations, and we came up with different type of clusters of themes, and we selected one as the first theme for the first collider, which will echo all the interventions that we just hear during this session. If you can go to the next one, please. The first selected theme is Leave No Waste Behind. Why have we come up with this selection is because we want to have a different type of approach. The approach can be from an industrial perspective, manufacturing perspective, as well as agricultural and from service point of view. So it's large, but it's systemic. And this is quite relevant to the goal that we have, which is in education, but it's in output for society. So once that we define the theme, then every institution then came back into internal organizations to organize the courses called Collider. If you can go to the next one, please. And we went to talk to the companies to formulate based on this theme, the challenges based on real concerns of companies and organizations that must be addressed by our students in a transversal way all across Europe. And once that companies get engaged, we had sessions with them as well, and the challenges were formulated. Based on the challenges, then we organize local colliders at each institutions. So each institution has, based on the timeline and the organizational setting, a form of colliders that are aimed, as Elise explained, to be challenge-based learned processes in which the students, based on different typologies of methodologies, faces the challenges and provide solutions to be potentially deployed to solve the challenge. And they have a certain number of hours, which is equivalent to a certain number of units in the university systems, and then they present it. And once they present it, they can get qualified to another level of presentations and the forum of impact, which is on a European level, going to a competition called Eurotech. You can go to the next slide, please. So the third step of the process is then facing all the other solutions, and then potentially find a way for integrating also the solutions that are being provided for answering back to the challenges to the companies and the stakeholders that provided it to the students. One thing that I would like to highlight in this process is that we aimed at building an ecosystem also in terms of what we create in terms of knowledge, not just in terms of educational programs and systems that can be then taking for long-term structuring of our programs in each institutions. So it's integrating the pedagogy, but giving results to the society. That's the explanation. I don't know if there are questions, or maybe the sessions of questions is later on. And I hope that we stay, we were complying with the time that was given for the explanation.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elise and Julia. That was a wonderful explanation of our Eurotech Collider project. And we are very much interested what our audience thinks. What kind of topics would be fitting for upcoming Eurotech Collider projects? So please, everyone, take out your smartphone one last time, go to Slido and tell us what kind of topic and what kind of project do you want to see in an upcoming Collider event. We will gather your inputs throughout the rest of our event and then discuss them later on. Now that we have heard that the Eurotech Collider projects really are a unique opportunity to immerse yourself in a challenge-based environment, we want to hear about the student stories, about two of the students who are currently participating in the Collider events. And now I'm very glad that Giada Severini from the Technical University of Munich and Koen de Nooy from Eindhoven University of Technology are joining us right now. These two students are participating in the Colliders right now and will share us their stories. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Shall I kick it off? So I'm Koen de Nooy. I'm a first year master's student of applied mathematics at Eindhoven University of Technology. I've been active in the student council of the Eurotech project for over a year now. And together with the rest of the council, I've discussed and thought about different aspects of Eurotech, so the course catalog and the Collider quite a bit. Well, my motivation for joining the Collider this year was because my master consists of a lot of traditional education, as you might call it. So it's a lot of monodisciplinary work, weekly homework, and big final exams. And I wanted to develop myself a little bit outside of that scope, learn a little bit more than just mathematics. And in particularly, I wanted to work on an open-ended challenge with a multidisciplinary and even international team. So the Eurotech Collider Challenge really spoke to me, especially since it is on the topic of sustainability, zero waste. So it seemed perfect for me. Sadly, we couldn't have a truly international team, as not that many students from abroad were participating yet. But we still ended up with a very diverse team of multiple nationalities. So there's a Chinese student in there, we have a Swedish student, and even a half French student. And the last point for applying was, well, this competitive element to it. So being able to go to the Eurotech-a-thon to present your idea at the European level really spoke to me and motivated me to take this challenge seriously and make a big impact. About my experience so far, well, we're working on the challenge of e-waste and batteries in particular. It's quite a big problem and becomes even larger, a larger topic in the energy transition. The topic is very broad, so it ranges from better collection of batteries to the recycling and the reuse of valuable metals and other materials. In our Collider, we have 8 weeks to work on the challenge, a little bit less with the Eurotech-a-thon, but yeah. Then so far we've been in contact with a lot of stakeholders and companies and organizations. We're trying to map out these material chains and find places where we can add value as a team of students with very complementary expertises. We've come up with 2 concrete ideas so far. We want to reuse e-bike batteries, give them a second life for energy storage, which becomes more important in our green energy transition. And the other idea that we have is offering better insight into materials that are present in e-waste and batteries, so that recycling companies can make their processes more efficient. Simultaneously offering recyclability labels to manufacturers of these products But yeah, much more work is necessary to refine these ideas, to come up with a nice business plan. And to talk a little bit about the personal impact that I've had so far, the experience. Well, I've had a very good experience so far. I have lovely team members who are very creative, have very good problem-solving skills. They've been very proactive in trying to take on certain parts of the project and are willing to consider other ideas than just their own. And I think that's very, very important here. I've seen how important it is to have soft skills. So communication, teamwork, presentation skills, and I'm sure I will develop those much more during the project. And one of the most important lessons for me so far has been the approach, has been to approach other companies and organizations to learn a bit about how they function, to get information out of them in a good way, and to use that input in your ideation phase for this challenge. I'm pretty sure there's much more to come, but for now, our team will keep working very hard on refining our solutions to ultimately win the challenge.
Yeah, thank you very much, Koen, for your insights into your Eurotech for Collider experiences. And now, Giada, we are very much excited to hear about your story so far. Please go ahead.
Hi, I hope you can hear me. I think there is a little bit of retard with the audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly fine.
Thanks a lot. Hi, everybody. I am really honored and glad to be here today and tell you a little bit more about my experience. So I am Giada from the TU, has already said. And basically, there are two stories that I could tell you today here. There is like a short and not very romantic story of why I joined the Collider, which is I was complaining about my job and I wanted to quit it. And my friend, just as a joke, she sent me this message with a link to the Collider. And she was like, well, if you quit and you have more time, you can just join this initiative. So it actually started as a joke, but here I am. Spoiler, I didn't quit my job. But here I am, and the more interesting probably story, and also the more honest as well, I think I like to say that I believe the Collider found me in a way, because it was really what I needed in this exact moment of my life, to finally get out there with something that I have been thinking about for a really long time. And it gave me this wonderful chance to present this challenge and find a wonderful team that was able to and willing to work on it. So maybe just to tell you a little more about this, about the background, 2.5 years ago, I started to research and care a lot about the sustainability of our food system. And not just because I'm Italian and I like food. Well, that played a role, I don't know. But I had a very strong experiences at personal level that are not relevant now, but it led me to having a strong interest in this field. And I was really frustrated because I was thinking all the time about how, even in my case, I really strongly believe in sustainability, and many people that are even here today, probably many people that are my age, study with me, they also strongly believe in sustainability. But then many times when it comes to simple behaviors, just as our food choices, for example, we not always align with our values when it comes to what we put on our plate. And I was always wondering, why is that? I get really frustrated about it. And I also realized that we are super detached from our food system today. We are all day in the university. We just have so much to care about, and we have to work maybe. We don't really have the time to think about what is happening out there in the food system, or maybe 10,000 miles away from here in South America, where avocados are being produced, of course. So I was always asking myself, where is the problem? How can we tackle this? And I was looking around me and I saw so many solutions that were basically top-down, market-based approaches. I don't know, maybe you heard of the TAP Coalition. 2 years ago, they proposed a meat tax, for example. So just taxing the animal products because they're very unsustainable. but that was not even considered in the end in the European Commission. And despite it made perfect sense at a rational level, I think they totally forgot that food is so much more. It's memories of the people we love, it's places, it's so much more than just numbers or a sustainability scores. So that is fundamental. And that's why I came to believe that it is fundamental to adapt a more social, society-based perspective. So I want to say bottom-up social innovation. And you can also support this kind of innovation using technology. And that's how the idea of footprint came out. So footprint, which is like footprint with the foot, it's the name of our challenge. And this wonderful team of people, which I came to love so much, we are working on developing and redesigning the Mensa environment, so the environment in the university canteen, to allow people to be empowered and take way more conscious food choices, while also being more aware about what is going on in the food system in general. So our idea is to turn the Mensa from a place where you just go to consume your food, maybe looking at your smartphone, to like a place of, I want to say, learning, a place of sharing, and also a place of participating in a way. And among others, we're trying to do this by developing an eco-score, or actually applying this eco-score idea to the foods in the Mensa, so that people can have visible, like the actual impacts of the food in front of them and be more conscious about their choices, but also developing programs and education initiatives in and around the canteen environment and the university. And in this sense, I think that's the real value of the Collider, because the Collider gives you the possibility to really get out there, which is the most scary part of an idea, because as long as you keep an idea inside your mind, it's all nice and neat and everything works. But when you go out there, you have to confront reality, and you have to confront people who will tell you, hey, you know, I'm not really interested, let's say, in the impacts of the food system. And you're gonna face technical difficulties and legal difficulties, but that's the real world. And that's the only thing that is going to prepare you to bring actual innovation out there. And also the stakeholders, involving all the stakeholders. That's a super important process, which the Collider, I think, really embodies, because it teaches you that you have to start from the problems, from the actual needs of the people. And technology doesn't, or innovation doesn't have to mean that you come up with a crazy technological idea, or how we would say in STS, probably a technical fix in a way, but that you really start from the needs. And maybe sometimes innovation looks slow, looks difficult, looks very social, but that's also fundamental. And I think I really got the opportunity to experience something like that only thanks to the Collider, which, as I said, starts from the challenges, from what people actually need. And yeah, that's a little bit my story, the story of my team. And of course, if any of you is interested in this initiative, we are planning to go on even beyond the Collider, to start an organization, and of course, or to continue this, possibly to scale it at the European level, because we strongly believe in building a strong European community also around food and tackling what I call food democracy. So we want to turn people into food citizens and not just consumers, and enable them to really share this experience and shape also the European food system together. If any of you is interested, feel free to reach out to me anytime with my two email account that I may post in the chat. I don't know. Thanks a lot. And yeah, thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you to hear the two very personal stories. Thank you very much, Giada and Koen, for joining us today. That was really important to hear. And yeah, I want to finally mention one last Eurotech project, which you might have heard already 1 or 2 times during our broadcast, and that is the Eurotech. And right now is joining me from Prague, from the Czech Technical University, Professor Henry Achten, who will explain all we need to know about the Eurotech. So please, Henry, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon or early evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, thank you, Elise and Julia, for introducing the Collider. And thank you very much, Koen and Giada, for your very passionate talk about your Collider experience. I'm so glad to hear that, and it will be great. Can you please show up the slides? Okay, great. Next slide, please. So what I'm going to talk about very, very shortly is the Eurotech-a-thon. And it's actually not happened yet. The first Eurotech-a-thon is going to take place from the 10th to the 12th of June. So I'll keep it short because it's more or less something that is going to happen and not happening right now. So next slide, please. And immediately afterwards, that one, okay. So yeah, the Eurotech-a-thon is being organized mainly at 2 locations. At Munich, and on the left you see great colleague Peter Finger, and of course with his excellent team from Junge Academy and many people from TU Munich who are doing an excellent job also today. Very good, really enjoying it, and it's technically perfect. Thank you very much. And on the right, me from the Czech Technical University in Prague. Next slide, please. And another, okay. So we have the colliders going on now. So imagine that at 6 schools in Europe, students like Koen and Giada are working on these challenges offered by the companies. The collider ends like that on the local level with all the teams presenting their work. But then we said in the Eurotech project, okay, it would be great if we could pool all these ideas and people together in a sort of like friendly competition to show all the ideas and the projects that these people have produced, yeah, compete, let's say, for the 3 best results. So the Eurotech-a-thon, as I said, will take place from the 10th to the 12th of June. And ideally, of course, you would like to get everyone together in one big place. But of course, because of the COVID condition, that was not really possible. So first we thought, okay, we do everyone online and bring them together in one platform, basically as we are doing it today. And then we said, yeah, but then we are missing an opportunity that we cannot really bring the students together. So then we came up with the next option, which is called the tandem option. So the people from Paris are going to travel to Eindhoven. The people from Teltech will travel to Denmark. And we, the Czech people, we are going to travel to Munich, so that we will have at least groups on 3 locations together. And in parallel, we are going to present our projects together. In the Collider, there are 3 main topics under Leave No Waste Behind. So we have specific attention areas for cities, for consumption and energy. So we will try to get at least 1 winner for each of these topics. So 1 best project overall on cities, 1 best project overall for consumption, and 1 best project overall for energy. And of course, as we are together exchanging our ideas, showing our presentations, and of course communicating about our things, we are learning lots and lots of additional things. We are networking, of course. We are learning how to do presentations. We gain a lot of experience. We exchange our ideas, and hopefully it will be very, very big fun. So next slide, please. So during the Collider, we will offer a lot of additional modules. So we're going to offer like training. How can you do a good pitch? How do you make a good presentation? Can you get motivated by all this creativity that you see around you? Of course, we have all the industry participation throughout the Collider beforehand, and also during the Eurotech-a-thon. And of course, all of these approaches from the many different schools, they are going to be completely different. So we're going to see a very wide range of approaches, solutions, and ideas. The next slide, please. And the next one. So as I said, Collider is going to take place over 3 days. We start on Friday afternoon, June the 10th. So people have the possibility and occasion to travel to their respective locations in time. And the first day will be a very quick, let's say, roundup of showing very quickly what everyone has been working on. So everyone gets a little bit of an idea of the range of solutions that has been come up during the colliders. So that gives people also inspiration. And we can also give a little bit feedback on the presentation, how it could be improved, or things that maybe the people have forgotten to talk about, etc., etc. Then the second day, Saturday, really is for working on the improvement of your projects. There will be a nice panel discussion with a keynote lecture that will talk about additional topics. And then the last day, Sunday, June the 12th, is of course the big day when the real pitches, the real presentations of the projects what the people have been working on for the past 2 days have been done. And there will be a jury, which I can now tell they're going to have a very, very difficult time to find the best. If I just look at what Koen and Jada were talking about, I think it's going to be a very great and inspiring event. Nevertheless, the jury will have the task to come up with the 3 best winners of the whole Eurotech-a-thon, and those 3 will win a trip to Brussels, where they can show their work and ideas to members of the European community. Next slide, please. And another one. Thanks. So during the Collider, we offer workshops to promote these communication and presentation skills. We will have this panel discussion with experts who are going to talk about the potential of artificial intelligence. And of course, while you are there, the people in their respective locations, we have asked the local student bodies to show us around. For example, our team from Prague will be in Munich, so I'm looking forward to visit also Munich and see what's happening at the TU. Looking forward to that very, very much. And I'm quite sure that the same will happen in Eindhoven and in Denmark. Next slide, please. And the next one. So the whole basic infrastructure of the Collider is going to be in the very capable hands of TU Munich, exactly where we are today. And as I see it, it's technically perfect. Everyone is doing a great job, and all the people who are working here are they are excellent, and I'm quite sure everything is going to work just perfectly. And I'm so looking forward to be in Munich. Next slide, please. And the final one. So this is the first Collider. Since this is really the first experience that we have with this type of event, we said, okay, the first Collider, we will do it a little bit more local. But of course, we have larger ambitions. The second and the third, which will be the last Collider, should become much more international. We hope, of course, that the mobility of the students between the universities will no longer be a problem in the next Colliders. And we also would like to include not only the students from the faculties and the universities, but we would also like to include professionals and also vocational learners. So I think the mix for the next Colliders and the next Eurotech-a-thon is going to be even more creative, even more varied, and very, very exciting. The second Collider is going to work on the same topic, Leave No Waste Behind. But we are going to ask the students again for new topics, new challenges. And of course, we're going to ask all the companies that are involved with Collider and Eurotech for new challenges. And the third and last Collider is going to work on a completely new theme. And next slide. And that was it from our side. So thank you very much for your attention. We are looking very much forward to the end of the Colliders and to see you online or in person in Munich, Eindhoven or Denmark for the Eurotech-a-thon. So see you then.
Yeah, thank you very much, Henry, for introducing to us the Eurotech-a-thon. It really sounds like a super interesting project, and we are all looking forward to the Eurotech-a-thon. You mentioned already that this is the first Collider, and earlier today we asked our audience what kind of topics and what kind of challenges they would be interested in seeing for the next Collider events. So why don't we bring up our Slido results really quickly and have a look at what topics are interesting to our audience. So I see already quite some posts about climate change and leave no waste behind. So the current Collider really is super important to our audience, but there are also more specific topics like nutrition, healthy food, peace, medicine. So really big societal challenges, which I think there are a lot of to choose from for our next Collider events. So thank you everyone for your input, and I'm glad the Eurotech Collider team will appreciate this very much.
We do.
Yeah, that is great to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear students and lifelong learners, slowly but surely we come to the end of today's Eurotech event. This was the Leave No Waste Behind Towards a Sustainable Future Eurotech conference. And I want to take the time and thank once again our great keynote speakers who helped us to shed a light on this so important topic of sustainability from different approaches. We heard keynotes from politics, we heard startups and local cities. And I think there are a lot of interesting challenges still lying ahead of us. And more than ever, we need creative people with great ideas. So once again, Ms. Pernille Weiss, Ms. Christina Frank, Mr. Maximilian Haug, and Professor Tietland, thank you very much for taking the time and being a part of today's Eurotech conference. I also want to thank the entire Eurotech team for organizing this event. This takes a lot of work, and a special thank you is necessary to Selina Michel and Professor Manuel Förster from the Technical University of Munich, who took on the leading role behind today's event. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. This was the Eurotech event, Leave No Waste Behind Towards a Sustainable Future. I certainly had a good time. I hope you enjoyed it, and we say goodbye from Munich.